All right, here we go. Today we have a Houston legend in the building, Lil Keke. Welcome back to Vlad TV.
Appreciate it, 100. Thank you for having me.
It's been a decade since our last one.
Yeah.
And in fact, the last one I think I did remotely, so this is our first time actually meeting face to face.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Well, congrats on your long-time success, man.
Man, I appreciate it.
You know, you really put in a lot of work to get to where you are right now. And I feel like you're really appreciated at this point in your career.
Yeah, finally.
Finally.
Yeah.
Well, we've done other interviews, but this is a little different. I want to start in the very beginning. So, born and raised in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you were born, your dad was 50 and your mom was 28.
Yeah.
But I guess your dad had lied about his age. And
yeah, he got away with one. You know what I'm saying? I think he looked very young for his age.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually, my mom moved him from Louisiana, and she was living with her aunt. And her aunt's husband was friends with my dad. So just imagine that this is your aunt's husband's friend, but he's still playing the game as if he's much younger. So like I say, genes, they strong though. That's why I look a little young myself, so he got away with it.
Well, don't you have a sister that's older than your mom?
I do. I have a few sisters that's older than my mom, not just one, actually maybe two or three, you know what I'm saying? Like, so my sister, I still have a living sister right now that's about 78.
Damn.
Yeah, this is my sister. I have nephews 55, 56, you know, older than me, nieces 4 or 5 years older than me. Like, I was Uncle Keke at about 6 or 7. 5, born into being Uncle Keke, actually.
How many kids did your dad have?
My dad has
you got to think about it.
4.
Okay, that's not bad.
No. I'm counting by heads. 4, 5, 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not bad. How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
Okay.
3 boys.
All right. Congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats. Okay, so what was Houston like in the 90s?
We was just talking about that not too long ago. It was much more of a different place because it was getting ready to go into the screw era, and which is that's from the drinking and everything that we were doing. It's a more laid back era. It was a more of an era about being player and the cars and the women and the outside and the club, and became real, and the ride. And the Houston car culture is such a big culture here, but in the 90s, it's always been here, but in the 90s, as it collided with the screw culture, it became a big thing.
Well, you started sipping syrup at 14?
Yeah.
Okay. How were you introduced to it?
It was right in front. It's right in. It's here. Maybe, like, I would say this. At 14, in the 9th grade, I got an opportunity to taste it for the first time. But around 16 or 17 is when it became something everyday thing.
So around that time, it seemed like you got in the streets. You started skipping school, and when you're not going to school, you start getting into stuff. So what were you doing back then?
Hustling. We outside. I'm from a neighborhood with a lot of boys. You know what I'm saying? I try to always, for people who don't understand, I try to compare our situation to maybe like the Hot Boys in New Orleans, or I don't know if y'all ever seen, what was the show in Baltimore? The Wire.
The Wire, yeah.
We have a lot of boys. So crack and rocks and all that is everywhere. So being introduced to it, my neighbors were some of the biggest gangsters, you know what I'm saying, they're right next door to me. So I grew up in an environment where people are always like, no, it was just right there. It was inevitable. It was right there in my face. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't easy to get into. It was hard to get into, I mean.
Right, because you probably remember when crack first hit Houston. I mean, you were young, but what did you see that started to change your neighborhood?
Well, like I always tell people, that wasn't my era, is when some of my group and my age group, some of our first sexual experiences was with people, aunts and mothers, and different things like that. That was some of the most dramatic things as I think about it later on in life. So as far as the renting of the cars and the people losing valuable possessions, man, I've seen people lose homes, cars, man, and that was the first drug that we experienced that where people, you know, they'll sell you their baby, you know, if they think
they'll sell you their baby.
Yeah, if they think if you can have it, that's how bad crack was at the time. I don't even think it's that bad right now, but the first introduction of us in 85 and 86 when I first seen it, that was the time where crack was really taking a toll. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was much more than just the hustling part. So, yeah, I'm from that time.
Yeah, I interviewed Elisa Sadiq yesterday. Me and him are the same age.
Okay.
And, you know, he talked about how he saw when crack first hit, in the beginning, it didn't seem like a big deal. You know, these were like working people, professional people, a lot of people that would do cocaine, kind of transition to crack thinking it was the same thing. But after a couple of years, that's when you started to see the effects of it. This is when their faces started to get all hollowed out and people started losing everything and so forth.
Well, for me, it was a little different. Ali may be a little older than me too, but it was a little different for me.
He's 51.
Yeah, he was a little different. When I first was introduced to it and seen it, it came in hard and harsh. You know what I'm saying? So like I can't remember a time where it had the cocaine feel. You know what I'm saying? Where it was a leisure drug and you could do it and get away with it. And now, with my first introduction to crack was the shifting of the money from such from a lower standpoint, and the changing of the format, the faces, the bodies, everything. I was introduced to it like that.
Well, you said by 15 you actually had to feed yourself.
Well, what I mean by that is, like, we were already outside.
Yeah.
What I told people, like, some of my first introductions of me telling myself that I'm grown, man, it was 2 o'clock in the morning on a school night. We were outside. You know what I'm saying? So what I meant by that, it's kind of hard to be out all night, 15, 16 years old, and then coming home and thinking mom is going to have a plate of food or something like that. So at 15, 16, I was already having to buy my Timmy Chan and find out what I'm going to eat during the day. And we outside all night. One thing I never did, that I'm not saying that I'm proud of the life I have here, but one thing I never did was once I got into the streets, I didn't put that type of pressure on my mom. Food, clothes, buy me this, give me this, none of this. Once we were outside full time, which was about 15 to 16, we were through with that notion.
Were you living with just your mom or both parents?
No, I've never lived with my father.
Okay.
My father he had his own home. My mom had his own home, so I had our own house. Very, very close. It's shocking how close it was. But no, didn't live. I lived with my mom, and my dad was in my life. It's just that, like I say, you got to understand, he had me at 50. So at 16, he's past fishing and going to the park and shooting a hoop. He's 66 at 16. You know, he died when he was 69. You know what I'm saying? When I was 19. So he's from a time where, now, if you can think we're taking the crack era wrong, imagine him. You know what I'm saying? Where they're from a time where all drugs were drugs. I don't care if you were smoking weed, crack, they was all the same to them. You know, he's a little old. He's from a different time.
You know, when you talk about dealing drugs, you know, people like to romanticize it, and everyone's Pablo Escobar and no one ever gets ripped off, and, you know, it's just money and girls and jewelry. But when you really talk to people that really went through it, and me and Elisa Sadiq, you know, he just talked about how he constantly got robbed, you know, thrown in trash cans, punched in the face, so forth. What do you think was the worst situation you went through when you were selling?
The worst situation that I probably went through, we've been shot at a few times. That's not the worst situation. You know, gunshots on the corner, different things happening. I've seen people, you know what I'm saying, some of these same people, some of these smokers and different, we've seen them die, you know what I'm saying, different stuff like that. But I think for me personally, the worst for me was I was talking about the other day, catching a case for a very small case that was worth $40 worth of crack, actually, that led to me having to be on a run for 10 years, a long time in my life. You know what I'm saying? That started with a very small thing. So that's probably the worst that happened to me. A very small amount of cocaine, crack, whatever it is, led to me losing almost 10 years of my career based on that one case.
So during the whole time that you were selling, you never got ripped off? Nothing really violent? I mean, you got shot at. Did you ever get hit? I never got hit. That's the thing about it. Like, that was a normal thing. So that's not nothing that was shocking. People getting robbed, ripped off. We didn't been jumped out, fights. That was normal. That's what I'm saying. The type of neighborhood that I'm from, that's not a shocking thing.
us getting into some fights, getting jumped on, somebody getting shot. I've had a kid get killed, and the people I was mixed up between the names. The one person that killed him had the same name. The person that was there had my nickname. So I've been in all type of situations. That's not nothing for me to be saying like, because it was normal, man. We seen people go to jail. We seen people get robbed. We've done things. We've packed pistols. We've shot. We've been shot at. So that was just along with what was happening. The more shocking things to me were things that were more detrimental to my life in the long term.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so by 93, you're 17 at the time. Mm-hmm. That's when the screw tape era really started. Mm-hmm. Now, was it around 94 when you guys hooked up?
I probably got a little bit of 93. I did get some 93, you know what I'm saying, at about 17, because I was going to Swishahouse from school. I was getting picked up from my homeboy Sticky, picking me up from Worthing, and I'm going during the school era. So I did get that 17, but I told, I was talking about it, previously, and my first couple of times of going to Swishahouse, I wasn't intrigued into who he was yet. This was about me trying to become more popular in my neighborhood. The first time I went was a couple of times with guys in my neighborhood that had a tape. I just wanted to go make a tape and become much popular in my neighborhood because the tapes were rolling out. I had no idea really what Screw was or who he was going to be or where that was even lead to. That was around 16 or 17.
Right, because didn't you guys have the same barber?
Yeah, that's who I'm talking about. My guy, the barber he's not just a barber, he's from my neighborhood. He's one of us. You know what I'm saying? He just happened to be the barber in the neighborhood. And he was cutting Screw's hair. So, he went over, they made a tape, and that particular tape was becoming the tape in our neighborhood because we were young kids. Like I say, I'm going to keep saying it over and over. Lots and lots of boys. I'm not talking about 5 or 10. I'm talking about 15, 20, 25, 5 over here, 10. We had a big neighborhood full of boys. So the tapes were floating all through, and the talk and the popularity of the tape of Steve was the big thing for me, not Screw at first.
Well, and I guess the people that were hanging out at Screw's house, they weren't really rappers and artists or whatever else. They're just local guys that were like, okay, sure, I'll do a little something. And then before you know it, things started to grow.
Well, the tape aspect wasn't about rapping on it at first. It was about just making it and putting songs on it. You could just put your favorite songs on it, what artists you like. So the Screw tape started off like that.
Oh.
The rap era part came in as we began the freestyle era, where we used to make those tapes, and then on the second side B, we would say, we want to rap on this, turn on the freestyles. That's how that started. And I was there from the beginning of that. So the first actual people that's hanging the Screw, some of those are not rappers. Some of those are mostly his friends and people he live with around his apartments or people who he hung out with. Those were the people that were making tapes. They wasn't necessarily artists. Now, some of those people decided to become artists as this thing began to grow.
Okay, so you yourself, at what point did you actually start rapping?
I'm a music connoisseur, period. Even when at 13 or 14, I was the guy at school rapping the Run DMC, remembering it word for word, Peter Piper, Pick Peppers, all that. I was already into it. I was already writing Computer Love down and writing songs down. I already been kind of musically inclined before I got to Swishahouse. But what happened was I had raps and things in my head that I wanted to do at 13 or 14 and 15 as I started engaging in music. But when we got to Swishahouse and we started making the tapes, it became about the freestyle, which is a little different from the rest of the world freestyle, Texas freestyle. We don't write it, it's off the top of the head. So the freestyle era took over in such a dramatic fashion to people wasn't even relaying if we ever had any interest in music early. The freestyle thing was so big to people even thought that us even pursuing music that we would try to do a freestyle. That's how good we had got at it.
Okay, so you guys started rapping on these tapes, and these things became a phenomenon. I mean, you said that I guess he would sell like 2,000 copies for $10 each, 2 to 4 times a week. That's a lot of money.
I would say this. No one will never have the actual accurate numbers on that.
Yeah, it was all cash.
But it was at an unbelievable rate and something much different than we ever seen. And it was 2 or 3 times a week at the gate, making the numbers 1,000, 2,000. It could have been anything. But let me tell you something, a lot of money and a lot of things, and we wasn't counting the dollars because they wasn't for us, because we wasn't there to try to make any. We never thought Screw owed us any money. You know what I'm saying? We didn't. You know what I'm saying? This was his thing. We was just, because we didn't go over there to pursue careers. We was over there having fun. The pursuit of the career started happening later as these mixtapes started to grow. These tapes were neighborhood things. I'm going to make a tape for my neighborhood. You're going to make one for yours. We riding in the car. We heard your neighborhood tape. You heard yours. We go to Screw, knock on the door. Who made the latest tapes? We didn't go there to pursue careers, so we never had a money issue. So we wasn't watching the dollars. We didn't start calculating and start talking about this money till we all became successful, and we look back at it, man, Screw was killing it, $10 a tape, such. So a lot of people confuse the money part of it as if we were actually paying attention to it. We wasn't.
Now, the whole chopped and screwed thing, how early did that start? Because in the beginning it was just what? Just regular songs, and then it evolved into that?
See, what people not understanding is about the regular song thing. The regular songs is just us saying it's regular. Like it's not freestyle. We ain't rapping on the beat. That could be a Sebo song, a Tupac song. That's what we mean by regular song. No, it's always was slow. As the craft became more chopping it, but we were introduced, my first time meeting Screw, I've never done a tape that wasn't slow. It was already slow when I met him. We didn't come over there at regular speed. That's what a lot of people don't know. We don't actually rap on these beats slow when we're doing them. They're fast. They're regular speed.
Then he slows them down after.
Then he slows them down. So from the first time that I ever started dealing with him and getting the tapes were already being chopped, and he was already bringing back and double beat. Now, as that became a phenomenon, it became, more, and that was a feel, that was being in there, and he's bringing back the favorite words, or somebody said something that relates to what type of person you is, he bringing that back and slowing it down. That was always a part of the process. It's just that it was happening in real time, so we didn't know that we was making history. We didn't know that this was gonna be a phenomenon. This is just in real time. Actually, everybody wasn't even rocking with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people wasn't even dealing with it, didn't even want to hear it, didn't even want it in their car, didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Lots of people. But let me tell you something. The opposite to that was everybody that was tuned into this we didn't want to hear the regular anymore.
No, I mean, when I first heard it, I remember Paul Wall, he did the chopped and screwed version of my Tupac Rap Phenomenon mixtape. And I remember listening to it, and this is, he chopped and screwed something that I helped create, and I'm like, I don't quite get it, but I appreciate the art of it, but it's hard to understand. I don't know, I mean, I never sipped syrup really, so I don't know whether that kind of contributed to really understanding the...
People, I like to always, syrup had nothing to, that's because people confuse the two. Syrup was something that was a part of the culture and the vibe that was going on, period, and then it went with the screw tapes because the screw tapes was a culture thing. We didn't have to drink it or take it in order to do it or hear it. That's a misconception. Because like I tell you, how are we having to drink this to do it when we're drinking it and the music is still fast at first? That don't go together.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
So people always confuse the two. It's just that it's a part of the era. No different than the Southside fade, no different than the swangers, no different than the candy paint, the syrup, the screw tape. It's all one thing. It's a culture thing.
Well, Big Mo, rest in peace. He was one of the core members of Screwed Up Click. I recently interviewed Dave Bluntz, and a lot of people have said that he kind of took Big Mo's whole image and kind of, took it for himself. I mentioned that to him and he denied it. From your point of view, do you think that Dave Bluntz fashioned himself after Big Mo?
I don't think Dave Bluntz is being honest. I think Dave Blunt would have probably got more respect from us, our culture, if he would have just, I admire Big Mo. Hey man, listen. You can go get somebody that never ever met Dave Bluntz or never ever met Big Mo. Play them 5 or 6 Big Mo songs, show them 5 or 6 videos, show them 5 or 6 Big Mo interviews, and then show them David Bluntz. And I bet you can't get one person to tell us that David Bluntz has no idea who Big Mo is.
Yeah, I agree, which is why I brought it up in our interview.
So I'm not here to bash David Bluntz. I don't know anything about you. I'm not here to kill your spirit. But if you want me to tell you the honest, I don't think that you're being honest. Now, whatever you're gonna go do and whatever you're gonna do, Big Mo is very beloved and legendary here. So you can't think that you're gonna get any type of love, respect, any of that's gonna happen here. Now, I'm just at a part in my career where I don't have time to smash y'all on the ground. That's your business, what you're doing. But me, honestly, there's no way that you can honestly tell me that you have no idea who Big Mo is. That it's impossible.
Well, there's the core members of Screwed Up Click, and then there's the affiliates. Devin the Dude, K Rhino, Lil Troy, UGK, and South Park Mexican. Is that fair?
I wouldn't say, if you're gonna say that, then there's multiple people that are affiliates. Like affiliates, all those people are affiliates of our sound and what we do, but the actual word SUC, some of those people don't associate SUC to their particular brand. Now, you have some original core members that started from 93, 94, 95, and as the Screwed Up Click grew, now those affiliates, and they associated to their brand. And with some of the ones you named, like Devin the Dude, that's one of our legends. I don't think he associates SUC to nothing that has to do with his brand, but he loves Screw. His music is very beloved on Screw. It's some of the biggest. But affiliate and branding of it's a wild thing.
Fair enough. Okay, so 1996, you're around 20 years old. You put out Pimp the Pen. Was that the first song that really reacted?
Yes.
Okay. How did it feel, coming from Houston, working on your craft now for a few years, and you finally dropped a song that Houston is really rocking with?
That was a great thing because the radio was a myth to us, There's no way we're gonna get to that, you know what I'm saying? And you gotta understand, UGK, Rap A Lot, K Reno, some of the people you just named, all those people had already taken a step forward to an independent situation. Like, what we mean by that, we're doing screw tapes, they doing real tapes. So this is gonna be out, and we're getting just as hot, but here's gonna be the first time that one of our real tapes are gonna actually, go mainstream or whatever. So it was a big thing. I think it was the greatest time in my life because I wasn't under the pressure that I'm on now. I ain't think about no videos, the money, the clothes, how much I got. This is all about opportunity and chance, and we can't believe that now this particular sound is finna do this. So that's one of the greatest times.
Well, around that time, 97, there was tension between Northside and Southside. And I guess the screw tapes actually created some tension between those two sides? Explain that.
We were just having tension, as far as cars and what's happening on their side, what we doing. And the screw tapes were the voice of the streets. And it wasn't so much that we were directing it to the north side. We were venting and speaking about things that we already do. We already go over to Swishahouse, and this is a Southside venting platform. Well, we talking, and we could be talking about your car just came out the shop and who got the new white insides and who got the candy. So the robberies and the things that's happening, they were getting talked about too. You know what I'm saying? So it's no different. This town is so big and it's so large to, we may have been blaming them for some of the things that probably wasn't even happening. You know what I'm saying? So to put it all in perspective, it was just, I tell people all the time, we were 20. We were 19. You know what I'm saying? Some of the things you're gonna be doing at 19 and 20 or such. So I think we've come full circle from that. We've had a lot of great moments that I think the music, the real music, the tapes and the artists and the Kekes and the Pauls and the Slim and those collaborations kind of brought all that to a cease, because most of it was street things. It wasn't a music thing. It was never a north side, south side music thing. It was a north side, south side street thing.
Well, speaking of Southside, there was a point around that time where you got locked up. What did you get locked up for?
I've been locked up a few times. Which time? No, that particular time was probably just young. We was catching cases, and some of these cases were probation violations, running. It's not necessarily we got a case, we're running. We supposed to went to court, supposed to went to probation, we didn't, we got dirty, just young, you know what I'm saying? So that, I wasn't actually locked up for Southside, I actually was locked up for when I made Southside, you know what I'm saying, and came home and done it on a screw tape called Home Sweet Home. and it took off real big. And I took it from Home Sweet Home, from a screw tape, and then I dropped it on my first album.
Right, because I guess there was an inmate when you were locked up that had a song called Northside.
Yes, it was.
So you came back with Southside?
Yeah, it was a guy, man, little short guy, I can't think of his name, but when I first got there, man, in there, the tank was kind of north side over here, south side over here, you know what I'm saying, based on, and like you say, I already had a little popularity from the screw tapes, even though I was in there, I had a little popularity from the screw tapes. So every day at a certain amount of time, the north side guys would posse up, you know, not posse up, but gather up over there on their side, and they would do a song called the North Side. It wasn't like my song Southside. It was just a song about their neighborhoods on the North Side and what they do. So, you know, my guy over here, I'll never get McInhenny D. He was from Third Ward. I used to make him beat on the table and do the Friends beat. And he'd beat on the bed, do the Friends beat, and we came with Southside. And when I came home, I was like, screw, I got this rap in my head. I want you to turn on that Houdini Friends beat. And he turned on that Houdini Friends beat, and boom, we dropped that Southside on Home Sweet Home. Much different words. Some of the same words are much different. So when I came out of Pimp the Pen from 3 in the morning, and I got my deal to do Don't Mess with Texas, one of the first songs I did was the real Southside.
When you made Southside, there were issues about you performing that song because you have a mixed crowd and God knows what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Were there situations where you performed it and fights broke out, or?
Not actually.
Okay.
Not actually. Let me tell you something. Man, Lil Keke was so big, and it was such a refreshing, new, fresh breath of air. What I mean by coming from the screw tapes, he young, they vibing, they talking about these cars. Man, people don't know that the North Side accepted that song just as well as we did, because it was for the state. It was for I eventually moved it from a city thing and moved it from a state thing, a region thing, and made it. That's why I come in Texas from the South, Louisiana from the South, Atlanta, Georgia from the South, Mississippi, and I made it a culture thing, you know what I'm saying, for the South, period. And just to be honest, man, as time passed, they really realized that song wasn't really directed to their side of town. And man, I can go do that song on that side of town and it's just as big as I actually did it. When we first dropped the album, Don't Mess with Texas, they booked us at the biggest club on the North Side. It was called Chocolate Town. It was the biggest club on the North Side. And everybody in the world wanted to know, was I gonna do Southside? And I wasn't. I actually wasn't, you know what I'm saying? But we did it. And
okay.
That was an experience, you know what I'm saying? And it was crazy, but Lil Keke was so hot, and they loved it.
Well, and then around that time, you dropped your debut album.
Yeah.
Don't Mess with Texas. Mm-hmm. People actually laughed at that name originally.
They did. And we was, that was the thing, you know, like, the screw tape era helped me so much because we came from a time where we come from freestyling. So freestyling is a lot of fucking up, a lot of messing up, so we had grew past what you think. You know what I'm saying? Like how y'all look at it. It was a point in time I didn't really care about what New York thought or what California thought. It was about where I was from. So, and that was a time where besides Scarface and, you know, UGK, you know, Texas wasn't, when I'm saying Don't Mess with Texas, we wasn't respected for what we talking about. Coming down, screens raining from the ceiling and candy paint and all that. Nobody wasn't into that. So when I'm saying Don't Mess with Texas, I'm finna put on this Astros hat and I'm finna put on this Astros jersey and I'm finna throw up that H, that same H that they throwing up that I threw up 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And I'm finna stand here with my chest out about it, and everybody wasn't ready to accept that, but here it is today. It's the biggest, probably the biggest album ever here. To me.
Well, yeah, that album sold 40,000.
The first week.
Its first week. Mm-hmm. Completely independently.
Completely independently.
And it's funny because you see some big major artists in 2025 and they're happy to get 40,000.
Man, listen, 40,000 right there the first week is love. We would love to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that was big at the time. We actually, back in the game, they had a thing called a snippet. Little cassette. Mm-hmm. Snippet plays about 10, 15, a minute of each song.
Right.
Man, we pressed up 20,000 of those and hit the road with them. And well, I actually, the record company owned Patrick Lewis at the time, him and Rafi, they bought a van. You know, my guys were some hustlers, man. They were some street cats, man. They went and bought a blue van, pressed up 20,000 snippet, and they left for a week. When they came back, we was the hottest in the state.
Yeah, and you refer to that album as The Reasonable Doubt of the South.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
That album was the first time that this particular lingo, the candy, the cars, the syrup, all that was the first time that album, that particular kind of lingo was in full motion. A lot of people thought that I would do my album freestyle. I was that big at it, we was that good. And I called Don't Mess with Texas organized freestyle. It was freestyle, formatted, but with rhymes and really put together and really wrote out, and the people loved it. And I think that was the big shocking factor of, I think people were so ready to hear the coming down and how we do it, and to see it maturated and put together as a real album with real hooks and real verses. It was the thing. And I don't think that no album made the impact to our culture. I'm not telling you that it's bigger than Mind Playing Tricks or any of that. That's a great big song, you know, the Ghetto Boys. But I'm saying from my culture and my era of what we bring and why y'all come down here a lot to see us, from the candy paints to the cars to what we do, how we talk, the lingo, the moving of the hands, how we dress. Don't Mess with Texas is the epitome of that.
How involved was DJ Screw with that album?
Besides him coming to do the verse, not that much.
Huh.
I did it my own. I'm still like that. Like, I have 60, 70 albums right now, and I don't have maybe 2 or 3 where I had some full assistance on it. Maybe T. Ferris came in and helped on some, but Don't Mess with Texas, every hook, every verse, every beat, besides the producers, you know, they made the beats, but I picked these beats, I rapped on them. Screw was very influential in what I had doing, because my vibe of coming from the Screw tapes is definitely related to him. The Pimp the Pen, the Draped Up and Dripped Out, that was very big. But as far as organizing an album, doing hooks, picking beats, I've always done it myself.
Well, then in 1998, you and Fat Pat appeared on DJ DMD's 25 Lighters on My Dresser. Mm-hmm. Did you know how big that was going to be when you made it?
That's actually me on the sample.
Yeah.
No. We were living in those moments. You know, it was still, we hadn't transformed to a professional side of it. So all those songs and things like that were still things that were tickling our fancy, these were going to our accolades, you know what I'm saying, and things that we were doing that was just like, you know, hey man, we becoming popular. We didn't know how to take that professionally at first. That's why we freestyle. It was a freestyle, actually. That's a true freestyle. 25 Lighters is a true freestyle from the hook to the verses on that, all of us. Probably not DMD, I think he wrote his, but me and Pat freestyled it for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, 25 Lighters was referenced by a lot of different artists over the years, including Kendrick Lamar. Mm-hmm. How does it feel to be on a song that was kind of lived on, you know, through multiple generations of new artists?
Well, it's no different than Draped Up and Dripped Out.
Yeah, that too.
Early on, I used to cringe about it a little bit because I didn't feel like they paid the proper homage to it at first. But I don't kind of look at it like that because it plays so much into my relevance. You here interviewing me today, you know what I'm saying? So my whole thing is a lot of those samples, a lot of those words, a lot of those lingos, they play into my relevance. And I would say that the latter part of my career, which is now, the homage and the respect has came back full circle.
Well, everything's building up for you. Great album, it's doing numbers, big song, but then by 2000, DJ Screw dies. How close were you guys at that point?
We wasn't close as probably some of his other closer friends. Like I tell people, I never claimed to be Screw's best friend. I just claimed to be, I feel like I'm the biggest artist that came. from that as far as what my contribution was for the rap part of it. Me and Screw were close, but I was starting to take off. He was still starting to do what he do, and I keep relating it back to I'm 21. You know what I'm saying? So I'm all over the place. We're close, but I don't think we're close as we would be as me and Pokey were older. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us became much, much older as we were able to look back and look at the things we're done. We wasn't from the same neighborhoods, none of us. So hanging out was never none of our things. The hangout was only at his house to make the tapes. When we left his house, if I wasn't in your house doing the tape, we wasn't in the car smoking and riding and going to the mall and going to the park. That wasn't, I wasn't one of those kind of friends. He had a lot of those. I had my own neighborhood. I had my own people that I hung with. So we were always close, but we had a musical gap because it was behind music. It wasn't a thing that, well, I call you on the phone, hey, what's up? Meet me at the mall or something. It wasn't that.
Well, no one really knows how he dies, but most people assume it was from the syrup drinking. Mm-hmm. Is that fair?
I don't think that's fair.
It's not? Okay,
no.
Explain.
I think...
I mean, he was fairly young. I mean, how old was he? In his 30s, maybe?
20-something.
Yeah, 20s.
Man, I think it was a multitude of things. People don't want to just blame it on that. No, that's not a thing, man. You're making money. You're on the road. This goes into sleep, resting, eating, different other things we're doing, smoking. It's a collaboration of things, man. I can't sit here and say that, man, you just got up, drunk you some syrup and died. No, that's not true. I just think that I'm a spiritual guy, so I already think that your time is your time. That's already my thing. But besides that, I just feel like it was a multitude of things. Man, we're young, we living fast, we living the high life, you making money. You know, you got to get the things that you cherish right now, rest and water and sleep and the picking of who you allow to be around you and all these different type of things. So I think it was a multitude. I wouldn't just pick out and say Serb did that.
I mean, but we did lose a lot of important Texas artists.
Lots.
And it seemed to be syrup related a lot of the times. Pimp C, of course. What were some of the other ones?
Pat, Mo, Hawk.
There we go.
See, that's what I'm trying to tell you. All those ain't syrup related. You know what I'm saying? The thing is about it is, if you notice, man, like, that's the safest thing for death. The drug, defining the drugs. So my whole thing is, man, I relate that shit no different than, hey, man, people smoke cigarettes every day and never get lung cancer. I seen somebody die of lung cancer the other day, never had a cigarette in their life. You know what I'm saying? So the drinking of the syrup, that's just a part of the era and the culture that was happening. You know what I'm saying? It could have been everything. Nobody, you know, these Pimp C, you know, whatever he was doing or how he was doing, I don't think that was related just straight to the cup. Now, I could be wrong, but in my opinion, if I think somebody just actually died from the syrup, that I would tell you. But that doesn't mean that none of those deaths or none of that didn't make me make decisions about how I want to be healthy or how I'm going to live my life. It impacted that. But I wouldn't just say that syrup killed any of them.
Well, right, because, you know, in 2000 when Screw dies, you're still sipping heavily.
Yes.
When did that actually stop?
I've been through with drink right now about 14 years straight.
Okay.
So maybe 2007, 2009, something around like that. I still want another 7 or 8 years. I actually got in some more trouble, and it was syrup related. And I just told myself, man, I actually got blessed. I actually got in some trouble. It was syrup related. I had to get on a pretrial where I had to stop doing everything. And this was November 2011. And they made me stop. I actually walked out of the courtroom and was gonna go get ready to get some more syrup. They called us, me and my lawyer told us to come back up. They forgot to put us on this pretrial. They put me on pretrial from November 2011 to February 2012. And I never drank it again. Not a sip, not a taste, not an ounce, not a deuce, not a little bit. Let me just hit the cup one time. Nothing. 14 years straight.
Okay, because you stopped for 14 years. How long were you actually sipping for?
From 14 to that, to from 16 or 17, from age about 17.
Well, you said at 14 you started.
14 is when I tried it.
Oh, okay, got it. Oh,
it's
you
no
started
different than
sipping heavily.
trying weed.
Yeah,
It's
I
no
get
different than sneaking and getting to try the weed.
Right, okay.
I'm saying actually taking my money and buying it every day. So I tell people all the time, I was actually buying my own weed at 15 to 16, waking up every day, going and get, but Serb wasn't like that because Serb was, that was for players. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it was expensive.
Yeah, it was for players.
I've interviewed people that have said they spent $100,000 on syrup.
Yeah,
like
that's
that type
nothing
of
to
thing.
do. Now it's much, much more ridiculous now, so you can do that easy. But back then it was still expensive for the time.
Okay.
But I probably went from the age 17 or 18 as a real Serb buying person to 30-something.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I interviewed Flavor Flav, and he had a lifetime drug addiction that he's been battling. And I remember he said something interesting. He goes, I'm 10 years sober, but I've been getting high for 30 years, so I need to stay sober for another 20 years to feel like I'm really sober. As much time as you spend high, you got to stay sober to kind of get some movement. Like, how hard was it? Because it's not like you stop sipping and then you retire from rap and you move to the suburbs and you never see it again and it's not in your face and so forth, and it's very easy, you can't get access to and so forth. You're still a rapper. You're still in these studios. Everyone around you got double cups. You go to these shows. You're backstage. Like people probably offered it to you along the way.
Let me tell you what I never did. I never hypocrited. What I mean by that is I didn't talk nobody out of it. I'm at the back, man, why are y'all doing this? I can't believe, I never did that. Still not doing it to this day.
Okay.
It's a life choice. It was a something that I had to do. It changed my complete whole life. If I would have knew that was gonna happen, I'd have been off 10 years before that. If I would have knew that was, but so for me, that was the first run that I was able to add discipline to my game. That's one of my top discipline things, for me to come in and see the cups and everything everywhere and not want it. Who I am alone is probably worse than, I'm very tough in when I need to be, so now sneaking at home alone is might be worse than goddamn outside. But for me, man, that was my first run of discipline, and that disciplinary trait is what led me into other disciplinary traits. I have other ones that I do. I don't smoke on the road. I just got through, we smoke everything right now. I'm getting ready to do this interview, no smoking. I'm never high when I'm doing videos, when I'm doing shows. This is maturity. These are things that I learned from getting off of it. Riding around Paul Wall, having to do these videos. Man, I might have done a video with you 10 years ago, mouth white, eyes, because we didn't care. So that particular discipline, being able to go around cats while they drinking, double cups, people still my friends, my partners, and not do it, that led me to discipline with bills. That led me to discipline with money. That led me to discipline with all type of shit, which ended up changing my whole life.
Well, congratulations on your sobriety, man, because... Listen, I hung out with Pimp C a couple of weeks before he passed away. And, we don't know for sure, but it seemed like it was lean related. Me and Rich Homie Quan were cool. I did his first interview ever. We just lost him from a drug overdose. My man, Lil Bibby, I interviewed him about losing Juice WRLD from a drug overdose. He was crying in the interview. A lot of tragedy comes from drug abuse and overdoses.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we don't know what would have happened, but you could have potentially been one of those victims along the way if you didn't stop.
Maybe so, but for me, I just and like I say, the only difference that I would say with Flavor, like now I don't reflect back those 14 years off. I feel like dog years for me because I don't. It's been so long, man. Like it's not even a thought. It's not even something I'm considering. But all the people that I know that still drink it, I've never talked them out of it. I've never judged them. I never badgered them. Hey, man, so now if you my partner and you come ask me, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you how I feel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But other than that, man, I understand. But I do tell people, man, listen, it is a life-changing experience.
Well, and I must say, you and I are 2 years apart. At 49, man, you look great. You look healthy. And you can't say that about a lot of people in our age range.
No.
There's some really fucked up looking people in their,
It's bad.
in their 50s and late 40s. Seriously, they look like grandfathers.
Yeah, it's
like
bad.
they have one foot in the grave. You and I feel like relatively healthy still, so congratulations on your decision.
Thank you.
Well, 2005, you're 29 years old. People think you signed to Swishahouse, but you actually signed to T. Ferris. Now, what was that whole situation like where you were essentially independent and now you're, with this crew of people that are becoming really, really successful? It was like there was a spotlight on Houston during that time. Paul Wall, Chameleonaire, Mike Jones, Slim Thug. Slim Thug signed to Pharrell, who was like the hottest producer of that time. So now you're in a different situation. And you actually didn't even take any money to sign the deal.
I didn't.
You just wanted to be part of it.
I was in trouble. So I knew that I didn't want to be greedy. I'm going to take your money and I'm in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like something, is eventually can happen and something eventually did happen. So for me, they were winning, just let's keep it 100. They were winning with our lingo, with what we built and how we did it. The mixtape format, the culture rap. I wouldn't say they stole anything or did anything. They grew up on there. Power Wall, I'm his favorite rapper. He grew up listening to Keke. So I just knew that based on where we were from a music standpoint, what I mean by we is the SUC and us and what we had built, I wasn't in the greatest place. I'm in trouble. I got something going on. So Swishahouse, people don't know, it wasn't just as easy as that. They tried that for months. I didn't even take the contract. I turned it down 3 or 4 times. T. Ferris he wanted to really do the deal. So we ended up getting the deal, and it took us a minute to get the deal with Universal. We didn't start right off and get the deal. Chunk Up the Deuce is what landed the deal. And, man, I knew that it would be controversy. I knew that it would be tied to towns. I knew it would be different things, but I made a rap decision because I had already transitioned from street rap, street and rap. I'm all rap. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't make a street decision. So as I look back, it was one of the toughest decisions of my career, but I wouldn't take back 106 in Park, The Basement, Gangsta Grill, interviews with Vlad, whatever it was, I'm a G, Chunk Up the Dudes, all the things. And not just that, going over there, it enhanced my professionalism. Staying late, stop missing shows, not being high. Paul Wall, Paul Wall, that's my brother. When you go somewhere with Paul Wall, you can just sit on back, 'cause we finna sign all these autographs, we finna kiss all these babies, we finna take all these pictures, and that professionalism led me to being on time, not missing interviews, at the shows where I need to be, catching the planes, not making any excuses. So that run did way more for me than just a side of town and doing it. It enhanced my professionalism, and it made me be exactly who I am. Right now, I'm an independent monster, you know what I'm saying? And it got a lot to do with that particular run.
Well, when you start working with Swishahouse, you and Paul Wall are cool, but you said that some of the other artists, you guys really were not that close.
No, we are. It's a big thing because Keke's coming from the other side of town. He's this guy. So no, we never named from the Archie Lees to the Cuda Bangs to the Young Reds to the E-Class, Surreal, everything that they had over there. I would say they embraced me. You know what I'm saying? Because I was already who I was. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't come over there as they know who I am. Like they're a big fan of what I'm already doing now. I tell people all the time, people was thinking about how much the Southside and what they would have to say about me doing it. But the Northside would have to have something to say too, because Swishahouse has all this fame, all this money, sold all his records, and one of their deals and one of their opportunities they're gonna give is to a Southside cat. So it went both ways. So I never really felt any pressure from the artist or such. Me just being who I am, I know that that's there. So I always try to keep it 100.
Right, because wasn't Mike Jones leaving the label?
Yeah, he had really left. At that time, it wasn't, what I mean by left is he wasn't in the building, as I'm recording and doing anything contractually and whatever they had going on. But I made it my business, man, at the time they were all shining. Slim, Paul, Mike. I had to put my hard hat on, get in that booth, and work my way into my situation. I tell rappers that all the time. That's how I use that for the young artists. You don't get to come straight into the chains and the cars and the money. You got to come outside, and when everybody else shining and got the chains and cars, you got to be humble enough to still come out there, rap, show your face, put in the work, and then you'll earn everything. And that's what I went over there and done.
Well, Paul Wall made Sitting Sideways. Mm-hmm. You were supposed to be on it.
I was.
Right, but Atlantic Records made him take you off the record?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. It was Pokey sample. So they already was adding Pokey to the song. Mm-hmm. So with it being Pokey song, I didn't think that they already didn't kind of, it's their movement. It's something they doing. We the elder statesmen. So I took it personally at the time. I did.
It was a big song.
It was a bit at the time,
Yeah.
but it ended up coming full circle. It ended up working out for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, later. But at the end of the day, the decisions that they made with it, with Keke on the rap and it's his sample, that's the excuse that they use. I went for it.
Well, 2006, Pimp C did Knocking Doors Down, and he asked you to be on it,
Yeah.
but you didn't want to get on it.
I wanted to get on it.
You did?
I just didn't want to. I didn't want to engage into exactly his message at the time. At the time, okay. That's another Keke sample. That's me. That's that's me sampling. So when Red Boy called me and asked me to do it, I asked him, did he want me to talk about what I actually mean for knocking those down? It's me saying it. You know what I'm saying? Or because I'm right then. It's a lot going on with the couple of little beefs and stuff in the city. And I get his point. He's trying to work it out. I just didn't want to help him work it out. You know what I'm saying? like I just didn't want to say nothing because a lot of people don't understand. I've been here longer than everybody else, so I was already coming from a lot of controversy and just getting myself out of it. I'm just kind of getting back right. I'm just getting back to the videos and just got my deal, so I kind of shunned away from it. Pimp, he got a little mad at me, but that's my brother. He stuck with me. You know what I'm saying? It's all love, but he just was trying to put a handle on what was happening in the city. And I think he wanted I think he looked at me as a person, that could have something to say about these things, but I just didn't want to. So I kind of left it alone.
Well, you said you went through hell trying to get Pimp C on Chunk Up the Deuce.
No, I didn't go through hell to get him on Chunk Up the Deuce. He got there great and fast. I went through hell to get him in the video.
Okay, got it.
To get him in the video.
Well, he didn't show up, right?
He didn't, actually. But, listen, it was Pimp. You know what I'm saying? So he had his theory of what he thought. I had my theory of what we thought. Song still ended up being, we ran into each other in the airport, left it alone. That's my brother. You know what I'm saying? He older than us. One thing about it, I called it Pimp being Pimp.
Well, you're going through all the success. You're doing your thing. But like you mentioned earlier, you had caught a crack case like 10 years before. So every day you're wondering if you're gonna actually get caught.
Well, actually, I caught a crack case early. And that particular crack case, I got probation for it. I violated that probation. And I was on the run from a probation violation. So I ended up getting caught, and I ended up going to a probation hearing. And in that probation hearing, they gave me 8 years.
Damn.
8 years TDC. But I made an appeal bond. An appeal bond is something they used to get about in Texas. You can get it with 15 years or less. When I made the appeal bond, that's when I went on the run. I never returned from the appeal bond. Then I had a lawyer who told me he kind of dispensed it. I paid him. I had all type of paperwork. So I went on a run from 96 to 2006.
Right, because when you signed your deal, it was with a fake name. You had fake IDs.
Yeah, I did actually.
I mean, you're really doing the most to try to duck this thing.
I am.
As you should, but still, I mean.
I tell people all the time, you got to know how to run. You got to know how to run. I was blessed, man. As I go back now, God bless me. You know what I'm saying? Even with getting out of the situation, everything that I had to do, it ended up being, I went through so much to get out of it, and it ended up not even being as worse as I thought it was going to be. But I tell people all the time that you have to know when, I shouldn't be giving this advice because I don't want you to run, but I knew how to run. I wasn't in the mix. It was just a blessing. I only did rap things. I only did the things that I had to do to survive. I wasn't in the cars like I usually be. I wasn't outside. I wasn't partying. I wasn't doing that. Everything I did. That's how I became so movie knowledgeable. I've seen everything.
You were just in the house all the time?
Yeah, I was in the house all the time.
Trying to avoid going to prison.
I was in the house all the time trying to avoid going to prison. So I seen everything. And that turned me to and guess what? That particular trait has me who I am now. I'm not a late guy now anymore. I was out of the club so long, it took that whole spirit out of me. So I'm only in the club now if I have to be. You know what I'm saying? If I'm working and stuff, so I'm not a club guy. Every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, getting dressed, going to the club. Never been that guy because in my time of being young, when all that was happening, I wasn't doing it.
Well, right. You're on the run for 10 years and you end up catching a minor weed case. And that's when they actually, you know,
They got
went
me.
through your fingerprints, and next thing you know,
They got me.
They got you.
They finally.
Right.
And I hadn't even told G-Dash, T-Fair, Swishahouse, I hadn't told them nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, so I got these. They were suspicious because my name was one thing on paper. I may catch the plane, and I was catching planes in my other name.
right.
You know?
Did you bond out on a fake name?
I bonded out on the fake name. Because where I bonded out from was in the country.
Right.
And they still had the roll-on print.
Right.
So we bonded out. They had the roll-on print. And about 3 weeks later, the prints came back. And they were very, very confused. And they was like, man, who's this guy? This guy with his fingers come break, they saying he has a warrant. So we was me and my lawyer at the time, we were trying to conjure up something that was gonna make us drive out there for probation. Everybody, we're gonna go do this year probation. But they got us when they hit us with, now we gotta transfer it to Houston. You live too far and we can't do it from here. So they transferred the probation to Houston and they got me on the first day that I went. Finally.
Well, it cost you $100.
And what I was going to say, and that was probably the best thing that happened for them to get me.
Well, it cost you $100,000
$100,000.
to get out.
50 up front.
50 up front.
And 50 when I got out.
Right.
Yeah.
Swishahouse gave you 50,000?
Yeah, they did. They wrote me a check for 50,000, and the best thing about it was, like I say, that's when this comes in handy. I had never got $1 from them. I had one of the hottest mixtapes. I hadn't finished my album. I got Chunk Up the Deuce. I hadn't got $1. Now, we made some money. I'm not telling you like Swishahouse is greedy. But as far as like an advance, here's 20,000 for signing 30. I got none of that. So when it was time to write me that $50,000 check, it wasn't that reluctant. I was worth it. You know what I'm saying, at the time. But I'm so street till I'm indebted to them for life for that. I took that as street. They saved my life. I needed $50,000 to get my life back to become who I was after running all that time. I had the best lawyer in the city, Chip Lewis, and it cost $100. You know what I'm saying? But, and that's a story too. It really didn't cost $100. And some people done some sneaking around, but we paid that, and I had to pay the other $50 when I got out. I did, and I got my life back.
Well, yeah, you said I ran for 10 years to do 3 months.
To do 3 months.
That's how long you were locked up for?
For 3 months. Yeah. For 3 months. Because at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, don't think when you get an appeal and you're doing your time outside. No, you don't. When I got there, I still had that 8 years. It's just that the lawyer that I had, the DA that I had, it was a lot of mix up. The lawyer had then wrote this lawyer who had wrote and said that this case was over with and dispensed, he had done it to 2 or 3 people. So the judge knew I had that going for my side, and then I had the best lawyer. I had Chip. He had Favor, on his side. So I was able to come home. I did 3 months, came home to I'm a G, and I'm a G was the second biggest song I ever had besides Southside.
2009, Drake drops his album So Far Gone.
Uh-huh.
And he samples you on November 18th.
Yes.
And he paid you for that sample.
He did.
How much did he give you? A lot.
He did what he was supposed to do, which was not what he's supposed to. What I mean by it wasn't just about a payment. I'm gonna make sure that you eat. We're gonna make it a publisher. He did it the right way. You know what I'm saying? So the dollar amount wasn't a thing because it wasn't like a work for hire. He didn't work for hire me. You know what I'm saying? And just to be honest, all the samples that I got, lots of artists, he didn't actually sample it.
Right, he quoted you.
He just quoted it.
Right.
And he just felt like he wanted to pay homage and pay that. And man, that kind of springboarded a lot of things, man. Like the samples started, people started taking care of me well for the samples, everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, so now from Prime Video to Crown Raw to Booker T to WWF to Video Game, Southside, the licenses is great now.
What was the most you made in 1 year off of licenses?
Over 200,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
More probably now, but when I first started, like I've had licenses has been great for me. You know what I'm saying? And that was just probably more now. You know what I'm saying? But at the time, I probably made more off those licenses. But at the time, in 1 year when I first started, got back, like I've had $40,000 and $50,000 licks for 35 seconds of Southside, 60 seconds, and shit like that.
Did you and Drake have a conversation before or after he actually quoted you?
Nope.
You've never talked to him?
I've talked to him.
Oh, okay.
Not about that situation.
Not about that.
His people, man, I just got a call from my people one time, and they was like, man, hey, Drake want to take care of you for this shit. And I was like, really? You know what I'm saying? Based on coming from never getting took care of for that shit is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So he just did it. You know what I'm saying? And it was for that album. And I've seen Drake. We talked to him, you know, Rodeo, everything. But I've never, you know, hey, man, I can't believe it. No, never. We just something done.
Well, when we did our interview 10 years ago, we talked about the Lil Flip and TI situation. And when I interviewed Lil Flip, I mentioned it. I said, did you hear it? He goes, oh, I absolutely heard it. In fact, I called Lil Keke to talk to him about it. We interviewed Lil Keke about the situation between you and TI.
I wish Flip would have stayed more like a Kirko right now. From 15 to 25. You know, he was getting so much money like that. He was a young kid getting so much. I just think the gangster approach that he took, it kind of backfired against him because we didn't look at him in that kind of light. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong, like, this serious though. Like, T.I. came to the city and came in the neighborhood and everything, but it didn't go what he thought.
How do you feel about that? Do you feel that's accurate, or do you feel that that's not exactly true based on your point of view?
Well, when I saw the interview, I got him on the phone. I called him, and we had a good hour conversation, and we talked about it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna go into detail on everything we talked about, but like I had to enlighten him on the fact that I battle. You know, like he didn't know I used to battle rap. You know, like because he's like a couple years older than me, so when he started getting hot, you know, he was doing shows and shit, and I was still on the battling circuit and doing talent shows and, you know, shit like that. So, you know, I had to tell him, like, yeah, man, we battle. Because also in the interview he said, we don't do that battle shit, you know what I mean? But he didn't know that that's how I got my name, battling and freestyling. So, you know, we had a talk, a grown man talk. You know, didn't nobody scream at it, did nobody call a check, nobody, no shit like that. Like, we brothers. At the end of the day, we just screwed up click.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like?
That's my brother. And I wasn't, at the time, I wasn't interview ready. Y'all was a little slicker than I thought. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause, yeah, y'all a little slicker than I thought. Cause when I'm trying to explain to him, I'm basically saying, man, I'm not even really saying that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you my brother. I just basically, at the time, I told him, we just had a conversation about it. And I was like, man, I just felt where he was in his career and the money that he was making and what he was representing. I felt like it was unnecessary for him to even engage in the beat. It just went the other way. Man, we got one of the best relationships right now. We do lots of music, lots of shows, and we good. You know what I'm saying? He's probably the younger one of the screwed up clique, not young. We all getting a little older.
Well, he was the youngest. Was he the last member signed? Well, not signed, but the last member of Screwed Up Clique? And the youngest at the time?
Well, he probably wouldn't even tell you that because there's so many more that felt like they came, you know, that's a part of it after that. But when I say he was the youngest, because I always be relating it to the music. You know what I'm saying? Which one it's so many of us that came from over there, but the ones that do the music, I think he's probably the youngest one from us doing music, like Keke, Mo, Pat, all of us that did music from a tape standpoint, probably so. But he's represented the family well. He do it, and we family, and we good, and we got a great relationship.
Yeah, look, I've been interviewing Lil Flip since I was doing DVDs before Vlad TV, and I'm gonna say he's always been. I'm gonna have to say he's just the coolest dude that I've ever interviewed in terms of always being available. Always like, okay, we'll be in the club and I'm holding my camera. He's like, hey, listen, when I finish this, we're gonna go out to the van, and we're gonna knock this out. And he would always do it.
I respect him. I tell people, I'm a big trait of this. I come from this, but I respect him on, he's a hard worker, you know what I'm saying, as far as we've been through a lot, you know what I'm saying? If you in this game, there's a lot, you're gonna go through ridicule, controversy, ups, downs. It takes a lot to keep coming out, showing your face and keep getting it, man. So I'm from that, so I always show him a lot of love for that because, hey, man, he been through a lot of turmoil, a lot of controversy doing this shit, and just to keep on getting up and doing it, so big respect for me.
Yeah, man. And I almost feel like it's not even a Lil Flip thing. It's almost like a Houston and possibly a Texas thing, where I just feel like when me and Bun B first met, you know, we got introduced by a lawyer we both knew, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing this mixtape. Oh, yeah, no, I'm familiar with you, Vlad. I want to get a verse. Send it over. Next day, done. You know what I'm saying? And to this day, like I talked to Bun B before I came to this interview. I feel like dudes from Houston have a level of professionalism and a level of openness and friendship that you just don't really see in other cities. And I don't know if it's the culture or what it is, but there's something about Houston.
I don't think nobody has, I don't think nobody embrace, honor, and look up to their legends like here. Being a legend here is something. It's not like, it don't get overlooked. It gets rewarded in every possible way where you can think, from sports teams to fans to restaurants to out to whatever, to the community, whatever it is. They really respect their legends and what we done for this city, the foundations we laid, the raps we done. I haven't been anywhere and they gonna see. I'm not talking about the legends that have went platinum and sold 10 million records. Of course you got respect for them and play them. I'm talking about the ones from out the trunk, out the gutter. You go in these clubs, they still getting their records played. We still getting booked. We making millions of dollars off these shows. We got our own tours. We live like kings. We live in mansions. We drive Bentleys and Rolls Royces and Maybach trucks, and that's all behind our fans. I'm living like that, Bun living like that, Slim, Zero, and it's all because of this huge Texas fan base that never turned their back because they're a buying fan base from the beginning. And I have 3 generations of those. You can actually be in a car with somebody and it's the uncle, the dad, the son, the 49-year-old dad, the 26-year-old son, and the 14-year-old nephew. They all be tuned in to some Keke shit. That many generations down. You know what I'm saying? And that just comes from being from Texas.
Well, yeah, now these days you got the Houston Rodeo that actually embraces hip hop, which historically that's never happened.
No.
But now, because it used to be what, just like country artists and so forth?
Well, it used to be country artists, couple of things, and this is what I tell people, man, like, when they wasn't honoring what we do, we wasn't paying attention or saying that it was the rodeo is the rodeo. We go in here and goddamn, it's the carnival and it means something to us.
Yeah.
Us being able to be a part of it is a testament to our growth. You know what I'm saying? And what we've came through and what we've done. And we didn't take that lightly, like, man, we got that done. A lot of people would have been on some, man, we ain't messing with them. They never mess with them. We didn't say that. We went right in there and rocked that building.
It's a big stage, man.
Shit.
It's a big stage.
The biggest.
How did it feel to perform at that? Because, that's just a different type of crowd.
That's, it felt grateful. It felt apart. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would say. It felt grateful and it felt apart because, hey, I performed in every stadium in this city. From the Summit to the Toyota to anything that you name around here. So to do that in NRG at the rodeo in front of 70,000 is
70,000.
70,000.
Damn.
72,000 to be exact, 71. It's so many, we can't even leave the other one off. I want to say 71,000, something like that. So that would, and for them, I got one of the biggest songs ever here. So to see that song 20-something years later getting this type of particular reaction, it's hey.
I actually looked it up. NRG Stadium holds 72,220 seats.
We had everything in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, every seat in there gone. So it was beautiful.
Well, you said that social media killed us. It's easy to be on gang now.
It's a gift and a curse. It done both. It helped us tremendously, and it killed a lot of artists. What I mean by that is a a lot of artists, man, when I was Lil Keke, when I was younger, you just only knew me for that. You know, like what you heard, 25 lighters, these freestyles, this is such. I think social media, man, it's a lot of artists that we love. You're great. Y'all are very talented until we hear you talk, until we see your lifestyle, until we hear what you're talking about, until we see how you're living. And I just think, and social media also with the killing of, you know, it's perspectives and opinion, and people are, a lot of artists, man, are losing time and not even putting in the work because the game is so opinionated. They can't handle the opinions now. They don't have the skin tough enough to deal with social media and I just think that, you know, and it also made a void of the talent. The viral moment, the social moment kind of start being bigger than the actual talent moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you had to, back in when I came in, you had to actually, I tell people all the time, it's going to be a gimmick here, there, something's going to happen. You're going to pop up, it's going to be a song, something's going to happen, a viral moment. But the game always transfers back to talent. You're going to have to eventually be an artist. You're going to have to eventually have a skill. So I just think that social media played a big part in kind of covering up some of the talent that we did. You know what I'm saying? And people, you know what I'm saying, like, people shy, man. People lost interest in even knowing how to do music, worrying about how they gonna get viewed and how they gonna get opinion. And I tell people all the time, man, likes and views are not customers.
Right.
You know, likes and follows and likes, views, and follows, those are not customers. And making music and selling music is two different things. There's a lot of people out here we making music. They go to studio, you can go to studio making music so fast, but can you sell it?
Yeah.
No different than these views, these likes, and they followers. They not customers. You know what I'm saying? So social media, you have to know how to play it. It's a gift and a curse. I wouldn't give it back because I'm not a big radio guy anymore. I don't have to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have so many streams, so many followers, so many platforms, so many listeners. When you wake up to hear Lil Keke, I don't think you necessarily have to go to the radio, do it. Now, I don't promote radio for younger artists or whoever want to come up. I think you should get big as big. But the longevity and who I am, I'm not radio stuck.
Well, I feel like Houston never, and I could be wrong, but I feel like Houston didn't fall into the trap of online beef escalating into serious violence where people are losing their lives. Like, for example, in Chicago. You know, I don't hear a lot of Houston artists saying, I'm gonna smoke on Lil Keke's mama's pack, like, or some, you know, some really disrespectful ass shit like that. Where Chicago, they do that, they've been doing that forever. And then Jacksonville, you know, shout out to Fulio. I told him to move out before he got killed.
Yeah.
You know, I've interviewed him and Young and Ace trying to get that beef down. It didn't work. New York, you know, Bronx drill, you know, you see situations like K-Flock, you know, is, you know, found guilty in a murder charge he just did. But I feel like in Houston, there's almost like a base level of respect where people don't go that low. And I'm sure that there's conflict with Houston artists and so forth, but why do you think that it doesn't devolve like it has in other cities?
I'm gonna say this, something I never said before. It's gonna be the first time that I ever said this, as I thought about it. I'm gonna blame it on the syrup. The same thing y'all wanna blame everything on.
Because y'all just chill off the syrup?
Because we just chilling. This is a player place. Back to the 90s, what you're saying. Not just saying because you drinking and you chill, but I'm saying the drink era created the player era. The player made and Kool-Aid and these type of words and parlaying. These are Houston words, parlaying, Kool-Aid and chilling. We came from that. Now, don't get me wrong, in 2025, it's lit up around here. You know what I'm saying? It's no different because of the social media, the game. Everybody's sliding and riding right now. But the reason that I think none of it, we got our spats and our beefs and all that too, but I think it never escalated to something so serious because the nature of here is player and laid back. This has never been shoot 'em up, bang bang, a town like that. Now anywhere there's people getting clipped. Now I'm not telling you that it's ain't murders in here and we ain't had high years of murders, but from a standpoint of the culture, we're players, man. It's about clothes and dressing and going outside, and the women. I think we got some of the baddest women in the world.
This is true.
You know what I'm saying? The baddest women in the world.
This is absolutely true.
ain't no place where it's a lot of bad women and it's a lot of killing and fighting. Niggas is outside for the girls and the women and players. So that never translated here as much. Now it's no different. You're gonna get somebody gonna get killed, somebody gonna get shot. This America. But as far as it being a thing, back and forth, it's never been a thing, because what you're gonna have to be competing with here is them cars and that money and that jewelry and the women in those outside places. That's more of the competition way than getting slid on every day.
Well, we talked about how Drake quoted you and you guys have a relationship. I remember Sauce Walker did a Breakfast Club interview, and he said there'd be no Drake without Houston, and how come Drake doesn't collaborate with more Houston artists like he does with Atlanta artists? And that became a whole thing at that time. What is your take on that?
I think we've never been like that. Like, we never, the newer artists in the city, they're more going towards getting the deals in the mainstream. Like, two things can be true. I always tell people that. That could be a narrative. What are you saying? That may be something to think about.
Yeah.
I love South. That may be something to think about. But the other side of it is we never really seeked it out. You know, like, we never. You know, I'm pretty sure Future big, so he doing his thing. It would be smart for him to be messing with Drake. We never seeked it out. Like a Slim Thug, a Keke, a Zero, a Power Wall, a Bun B has his relationship, but the way that we live and what the game has offered us and the way we have to live, that never was an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that he had to worry about it because he was never under the pressure of it. I mean, Drake, he was never under the pressure of he owed it to us. You know what I'm saying? Like, he came here, enjoyed himself. He almost do it damn near like what I like to do. I have friends and shit in the neighborhood that I have that they not rap friends because I get to just be Keke. I just want to come over here and hang out. When I get here, I don't want to do verses and hooks and shows and nothing. I just want to do what we regularly do as a regular person. I think Drake was able to get that feel here. Not saying that it probably would have been some of the smarter things to do a song with a different artist. I'm not saying that Sauce don't have a good point, but I think the artist that's before the new young mainstream, we never put that kind of pressure on Drake to get a verse or sing you and, man, what about a song? We never did that.
What's your take on the whole Drake and Kendrick thing, and now Drake is actually suing Universal?
I blame it on social media again, which is if we never heard about it, we wouldn't even be talking about it. If we didn't hear about it, we didn't think, man, hey, we in a game now where I seen something on Drake, man, this morning where it's something what he's doing where he getting paid $3.5 million a week to do it. That got something to do with a stream or something. Man, we're in a different part of the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Drake being able to sue this and Kendrick Lamar and robots and computers everywhere and iPhones and string. We're in a different part of the game. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
And the only reason why we're that tuned into it because it's in our face every day. It's on the TV. And if Drake would have been suing Universal 15 years ago for this, we'd have never knew. And it wouldn't even been a problem. So I just, the Drake and Kendrick thing, I just blame it on the game. In another year, we'll see something different. Something else will be happening. And I'm going to be here for it. Cassette, CD, stream, NFT, the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beat, and whatever else the hell y'all got coming, I'm going to be here for it. You know, if God bless. So I just blame it on the game, and it's nothing big.
Well, that's what it is, Lil Keke, man. I'm glad we actually got to connect in person.
Yeah.
It was like a last-minute thing.
Yeah,
They
I
came
appreciate
together
it.
yesterday. Shout out to my man, Willie D,
Yeah.
who linked us up, man. I've been a long-time fan. You did Vlad TV 10 years ago, so it's only right that we actually do it in person this time. Congrats on your success, and
Yeah.
you're still putting out projects. What are some of the stuff that you have coming out?
Legend Hotel is my recent
Right.
one. I drop them twice a year. It's been going great. Independent, I have one new one called Legend Hotel, man, and I always mix the OGs of our city and our state. I mix them with the youngsters. What I mean by that, I don't care if it's a Maxo Cream, Mex's OT, DJ Cho, Sauce Walker. I mix them with the Bun B, Slim Thug, Power Wall Zero, and that's what my tapes be about. They've been going great. God has been good. So Legend Hotel, I just dropped it on my birthday about 2 weeks ago. It's up, and the new video with me, Power Wall, and Bun B is dropping tomorrow. Texas on the map.
And I think what I respect when I hear these songs with these newer artists, like the OTs and the Maxo Creams and so forth, is that you don't try to emulate what they're doing. You are still the little Keke that we know and love
That's what
on
they
these
came to
songs.
get me to do.
Right.
They
You're
didn't
not
come-
trying to like
Nah.
keep up with that particular rap style or you
No.
know that cadence or whatever. You get on the song, you're Keke.
My fans allow me to live how I live based on the effort that I put in being me. You know what I'm saying? So these artists, Lil Jeremy, DJ Chose, all these people come get me. When they come get me to do a song, it's for me being me. When I'm coming to get them, I'm coming to get them to let them know that y'all are next, y'all running this city, y'all the next people up, and I want to make sure that this lasting music that I do, that's how I'm able to stay relevant. I always kept up with time. Charles Walkie's on right now. I want to see the video. I want to do this here. Such and such, he's doing this. I want to see it. So it plays a part in my relevance. So salute to the youngsters and never believe none of that. Which I tell Texas, we don't have no beef. We don't have no egos. We one family.
That's what it is. How we're gonna end it. Lil Keke, man. Until next time.
Big salute.
Peace.
Yeah.